Hi, welcome everybody to Multicultural Counseling. My name is Latoya Perry, and I'm so excited that you all took this class. This is a class that's going to address issues that may arise when we're servicing clients that are different than us. I know some of you are taking this class because it's a part of your program, but then some of you taking this class is because it's an elective. And just so I can survey the audience and see who's out there, I want you all to let me know what kind of professionals I have in the audience. Teacher.
Counselor.
Learning disabilities teacher.
So working with students and parents, yes.
Pre-K teacher.
Pre-K teacher, very good. So in this class, you may say, well, how does this class help you as professionals? Because you work with other people that are different than us. They have different backgrounds. They are different nationalities. Some may be different income range, educational background. They are different. And as professionals, this is our question that we need to focus on, is how do we as professionals work most effectively with others that are different than us? And I'm going to tell you how I got into this field. Let me tell you a little bit about myself first. So I have a BA from Roosevelt University in early childhood education. I attended Chicago State University, where I also obtained a degree in LBS 1 in special education. Went back and got an endorsement in counseling. And I went back and got the endorsement in counseling because I was a classroom teacher. And what I found is that not only was I teaching kids, I also had to service their parents as well. And working in a public sector school system, I found that they had lots of issues, and they wanted somebody to talk to. They just needed a listening ear. And sometimes when I would listen to them, I didn't hear exactly what they were saying because I had certain biases of my own, or I didn't understand where they were coming from. So I had to learn how to be a better listener to them. So it drew me into searching out different programs or workshop or professional developments on counseling. And so when I got into started out that way, I got intrigued. And the more intrigued I got, the more I decided to pick up that field, which is what leads me here now to stand before you. And before we go any further, I just want you all to each introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and tell me exactly something fun you like to do.
Catherine Asbury. I love to read. I read all day, every day.
That's good, Miss Ashbury. I'm a reader too.
Hi, I'm Angelica Moore. Just what we do, our background, or just something we like?
Something about your background, what you do, and something fun that you like to do.
I'm a substitute teacher. My background is actually economics, so it's different from teaching, but it's been very rewarding. And I like to play volleyball.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And as an economist, you definitely can benefit from this class about multicultural awareness because you're dealing with the economy, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
My name is Marsha LaPatha, and I'm a special ed teacher, but I never really set out in my career to be a special ed teacher. Originally, I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
And I worked as a nurse's aide. I worked in a hospital for a long time. And I took a lot of medical classes until I decided that that wasn't what I wanted to become.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I I learned, especially working in the hospital all the time, was you have to be able to communicate with all different kinds of people. And it doesn't really matter if you even speak the same language. You have got to find a way to communicate.
And communication is really a big piece in this multicultural awareness course, because communication extends far beyond just vocally. It has to do with our body language and, you know, how we, our nonverbal cues and hand movements and stuff. So you're absolutely right. But that's a big switch. Doctor to special ed teacher. Still helping the public though, right? Okay.
Okay, my name is Latricia Stein, and I've worked in the Chicago public school system for 31 years. And now I'm with 3 to 5 year olds, which is a great difference because the majority of my performance here has been with older children, upper school especially. And I too feel that just communication with a person. Sit down, talk with them. Many times you may find a common ground there. Sometimes you might share the same religion, you might share the same types of food, what you like, and then you just start it bit by bit on
Yes.
a lower note, and then you graduate to what the meat of the subject, of what you really want to find out about a person.
So my question to you is, working with the little ones, is can you see how important multicultural awareness could fit in working with little ones and their families?
Yeah, especially with their families, because many times they come in with issues that need to be resolved. They feel comfortable with you, now they want to address it with you, and they want they want you to solve it, to bring them some peace of mind. I'm bringing my baby to you, my most precious gift, and I'm bringing my child to you.
Yeah.
And I'm having problems as the parent. And so they need you to reach out to them, to comfort them. And you have to go through this process with the parent. This is all year. Maybe for 2 years, you're trying to reach out to this parent to find them some resolve in their issues.
And that's just one parent. And you
That's
have 30
exactly.
students that could potentially have problems
Right.
or issues.
Right. Okay. Our next student here.
Yes, my name is Tangelyn Irving. I've been in the school system over 20 years. To relax, I just read.
To read. Have you, since been in the school system, have you seen any issues surrounding multicultural awareness?
Several.
Several? Would you want to share one?
No, not right now.
Not right now. Okay, no, that's fine. All right, so before we began, on each table there's a Post-it. I want you to write down one question that you have about multicultural awareness. And I want you to hold on to that question to the end of the class. Then we're gonna go back to those questions and review it. And we're gonna, what the hope is that I've already answered those questions that you've already written down, okay? So I'll give you a minute to do that, and you can start now.
So one question per table or in those individual questions?
You can do one question per table. If you have your own individual question, that's a good question. If you have your own individual question, you can write that down too. So if you want to, talk with your neighbor, that's fine too. I'll give you one more minute. So we'll go ahead on and get started here. And this is just food for thought. A man by the name of Hightower said that the greatest distance between people in space I mean, the greatest difference between people is not space, but it's culture. So I can live here and you can live all the way on the other side of the world. That's not the greatest distance between us. It's culture. What do you think he meant by that? That's just something that's really thought-provoking. But as professionals, what do you really think he meant by that saying? Yes, Mr. Packer.
The way you're raised and the traditions that you follow
Yes.
within your family, within your friends, that determines one way of looking at things.
Absolutely.
If you believe that's the only way.
So you said something that was very pertinent. You said traditions. Traditions are one of the number one things that keeps us separated as people. We can both be African American people like you and I, but you could be of a different religion, and so am I. So my tradition as a Christian would be to celebrate Christmas. And a Jehovah Witness doesn't. So now our traditions are different. How do I communicate with that person without reflecting my own biases? And I know many of you probably have gotten those guests at your door early Saturday morning. How do you communicate with someone when you have such an apparent difference as religion?
There's really not a big difference.
You say it's not a difference. Can you
It's
explain
not
that?
really it's not a big difference. You can run into, what is that, an atheist, someone who does not to heaven, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still get along with that person as long as you respect
Right.
their tradition.
You're absolutely right. Right. Respect. That's a very big word when you're dealing with people that are different with us. Respecting their difference, respecting their traditions, respecting where they are, and not put too many expectations on them when we're working with them. And so I kind of want you to be able to have those thoughts kind of lingering in the back of your mind, because we're going to do a group activity shortly where you're going to have to think about that. How can I work with this person that is different than me? Knowing, and as professionals, we have to be open, even though that might not be a practice that we do personally. We have to be open to what they do, to allow them to share those things with us. And we have to, you know, have you ever talked to somebody and as they're talking to you, your face tell a story?
Exactly.
Those little bitty things, that means the most, because you don't want them to get turned off. You know, that could turn them off right away. It'll shut them down. And we don't want to do that, especially when we're trying to provide support for them, whether it's in education, whether it is in counseling. We want to support others, because that's what our job entitles us to do. So that multicultural awareness has to do so much more, has to do much more than just us recognizing their differences, but also recognizing our differences. And having the knowledge and having the skill and being equipped to deal with others. So we're going to pause right there. And I want you all, what we're going to do now is I'm going to give everybody a case study. And in this case study, you're going to address 3 questions. I'm going to give you a large post-it. You're going to work in groups of 2 or 3. And you're going to read over your your case study, and then you're going to answer these 3 questions in your group. I'll give you the markers and paper to do this. One, you're gonna identify the areas of multicultural competence needed for working with this particular person. You're gonna identify your values and beliefs and detail how any biases you may have may impact you working with this client. And thirdly, we're gonna come up with some skills and interventions that will help us to work with this client. And how will we gain their knowledge? Okay? So I'm gonna give you all this. We'll take about 10 to 12 minutes to work on this. You have to read it. I'm gonna be walking around, and if you need any questions and answers, let me know. I'm here. So I'll give you a few minutes to read before I intervene. When you're ready, you can come up, you can get a post-it. Now you can be creative and present this information any way you want. Somebody from your group can be can report it out, or when you're working together to answer those questions, you work together as a team. Once you're done, you can start discussing it amongst yourself and the group. Now, make sure if you want to use your devices to help you to look up some strategies, you can do that too. This is the 21st century. It's a new age. So if you want to use your iPads, your cell phones to help you research, you can do that as well. Couple more minutes before we start engaging in conversation. Yes, yes, yes. Mark it up. Whatever you need to do is fine. Yes. So let's discuss. What do you think here? Tell me about your case.
What you think about
Well, I think that Dr. Smith could pose a bias if she's non-religious.
Yeah.
So I identify her with Mary. So obviously religion would be one.
Yes.
His marital status.
Yeah.
His age. So I guess this is our personal values and beliefs. So you want to go first and identify your personal values and beliefs.
She didn't want to break up that family. She didn't want to. And then religion.
I'm a Catholic. But I was,
So you said a lot of great things in there. Now think about all those things you said. How might that impact your person in your case study there?
It would definitely impact, it could potentially negatively impact Sam Waterstone because obviously we have different types of education. He has a more traditional educational background, and I have more, well, I absolutely have a Western education here in America and in the UK. So me potentially looking at Western education is more valuable than traditional education or research or medicine as he did could form a bias of me thinking mine is better or him thinking that mine isn't as good because he, you know, has a longer lineage of education. Western education isn't as old as traditional medicine. So that could cause a conflict. Also with him being from a disenfranchised group, being Native American, is a tension there between, it can be looked at as a tension historically, if I were the doctor, of course, because of the, I guess you could say, caste system that people of color.
That was
are
our
in.
5-minute buffer, so
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off. That was
No,
our
you're
5
fine.
minutes before let's finish and get it down so that we, in 5 minutes, I can have you guys
Okay.
come up and present.
So we got a marker,
Yes.
or just put it in the, on the page?
I'm gonna ask for a volunteer from each group to come up and report. All right, so we're gonna come back together now. We're gonna have, this table to come up first and to share. Give us a little background upon your client and tell us, let's address those questions that we talked about at hand. Identify the areas of multicultural competence and your personal values and beliefs and how that might impact you servicing this client, and what skills and strategies might you need in order to support this client. Yeah,
Or maybe we can say one.
yes.
So our client was Sam Waterstone, and his background was a traditional medicine / herbalist, and he practiced this for many years, and then decided to be a doctor, but he simply completed a nursing degree, and went on to work in the school system. However, upon working in the school system, he encountered several discrimination and harassment issues, and he complained that he was assigned to worse schools, and he also complained that he couldn't get time off for his religious practices. So for us, we decided that intervention strategies, if we were, I'm assuming, Dr. Mary, is to first find out about his traditional practices. So get more knowledge on that and be more open and accepting to it.
How would you do that?
Well, first we would have to inquire about it, because it's one thing for you to tell me I'm this or I'm that or I
How do you
believe this.
inquire about it?
Well, I'm assuming they were in a counseling session, because it said that his attorney referred him to it, so it's a one-on-one situation. It's supposed to be like a confidential setting, so she could probably just openly ask him, what do you believe, why do you believe this, how did you grow and learn about this religion, and it could be a safe space. Or two, as the conversation breaks down, because it said that he was a bit guarded at first because he wanted to know if he could trust her. He could also kind of break down his barriers, because he is the one there for help and needing help, who was referred for the help from his attorney. So that exchange would definitely need to be made. Number two, compromise for the week off. So it said that for his religious practice that he needed to take time off during the first week of school. As educators, we all know that the first week of school is the most busiest and most tumultuous, so that never happened. However, we do know that people who practice other religions, like you said in our group, for example, Jewish, they get time off for their beliefs and their holidays. So could there be some type of compromise to take place? Instead of you taking the first week off, maybe the second week off from school, or maybe take that week off in a different time frame. But that would be contingent upon you understanding his religious practice. Maybe he can't take that week off. Maybe it's a sacred week that's been going on for hundreds and thousands of years with his community, and he can't sacrifice that at all. So that would be something to inquire about, but also there are different schools that maybe, you know, would
Right.
be able to, work with him better. And he's already expressed that he's been at the worst school. So, number 3, document harassment claims and follow up with a paper trail. That is obviously the number one thing that he would need because he's filing the case. Has he filed any harassment claims before? What happened after he filed those claims? Does he have any follow-up meetings into the case? Have they brushed it off? Were these verbal complaints? Were these paper, like typed up emails? Does he have any proof? Anything recorded? Anything like that? So does he have that? That could definitely be an intervention moving forward. If he wants to stay in that school system, he could then, you know, have more proof if he wants to take action later. And then our last one is investigation of school assignments. So basically, that being, how has his stress level, you know, been impacted since working here? Was his blood pressure lower before he started working there? And has it been a significant change since working there? How can he prove that a school is bad versus good? What is taking place other than the harassment? So are there other biases, like he's getting a shorter lunch, or he's not getting a prep, or, you know, are they mocking his medicinal practices there? So those are some intervention strategies we thought of just off rip, but ultimately the professional Dr. Mary, who's evaluating him, she would definitely have to be open to receive the things that he's saying, because if you're a lawyer or a professional that's supposed to help a client, if you don't believe them, then no one else will believe them. So that's something we found out.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
You did an excellent job. And so, as we've been stating this whole lesson, that a culturally competent counselor or professional, they develop awareness, knowledge, and skills to effectively intervene when servicing clients who are different than us, who have culturally diverse backgrounds. Because we're gonna meet, it's just no way around it. We all will meet someone that's had a different experience than us, that's grown up differently than us. And so, which is one of the objectives of this class, being self-reflective and evaluative of our own self-awareness when we're interacting with others, okay? Lastly, before we get out of here, I have a self-assessment cultural competence checklist. And I just want you to look at this briefly. This will be a part of your homework assignment. I want you to briefly look at this before we get out of here. And as you're looking it over, I want you to look at some of those things. I want you just to look at a couple things, couple points that you think you might have an issue with, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit before we get out of here. But then when you get home, you're going to write in your, think about it, reflect it, and write in your journals about it, okay? One more minute. All right? Anything jump out at anybody? That you might have a problem with when you're servicing or supporting clients? Did anything jump out to you?
Check my assumptions.
That's what I'm looking at. Check my assumptions, because you're always gonna enter with your own biases and what you assume or presume that another culture is like. Maybe not from personal experience, but from just what you've been heard through the media, the general public.
Yes.
And you just assume these things about a person, and then after you come in, they come in, you sit down, you really have an aha moment. Oh, let me check myself now.
How do
Why am
you
I
check
really
those
feeling it?
assumptions?
you have to question yourself, why am I really feeling this way about this person?
Right.
What did I experience
Right.
from this culture or from this ethnic person that brought me to this realization? It's wrong. I shouldn't be feeling that way just from talking to this one person.
Yes.
Now, this one person may not be the entire, you know, may not be representative of the entire group of culture people.
Yes.
But, I don't know.
That was my experience living abroad. People, before I opened my mouth, they didn't hear my accent, so they thought I was a black British resident.
Okay.
But when they heard my accent, they knew I was American. And when I was over there, I received a lot of stereotypes that is presented through the media of African Americans from Chicago, and black women from
Mhm.
America. So I had three
Right.
cross-cultural assumptions and stereotypes taking place at me all at the same time.
Yes.
And it was really interesting because in addition to those assumed stereotypes, I was then asked, where am I really from? So then it was another question of, who are you? So I think I know who you are based on what I've seen on media, music,
Right.
and other things, but at the same time, who are you really? So it was, yeah, that was my experience. And that taught me to also check my assumptions, because even when you learn things in academia, until you actually meet a person of that culture or said group, then you really don't know. You don't know. So yeah, you gotta check it. You have to.
Even from names, because I've shared that experience, people, just from my name, a person hasn't met me,
Yep.
we haven't been introduced, and then, oh, you're Mrs. Stein? Oh, I can see you're not Jewish. Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So you all can see how important it is really to reflect and evaluate our own ethical practices when we're working with others. Because just as you said, those assumptions are back there. We have to be very reflective in our practice. We have to be very aware of ourselves and who we are in order to work with somebody else. And that is so important. And so that, and to, you know, help sum up our lesson for today, there are 12 guidelines that you kind of have to keep on the forefront of your mind when you're working with people from different cultures. And then one thing is, consider the culture factors. That is so important. Those culture factors are going to be so important. It's going to cover the communication piece, how effective you can communicate with that person. And you know, in order to support them, you got to have that communication. You know, you don't want to spend that time working with someone, helping someone, supporting someone, and it didn't get anywhere because of those we did not consider those culture factors. The second one is examine and evaluate our own cultural baggage. You know, we have our own cultural baggage. You know, I don't know if I shared with you my baggage that I had when I first started, is that I worked with someone that was in a different income bracket, but we were the same race. So I didn't have the patience to deal with that particular person because I could understand their financial dilemmas. So that was my own cultural baggage, okay? The third thing is examine and evaluate the relevance of your theoretical orientation. So when you're getting strategies and interventions with someone, you want to consider and examine and evaluate the relevance of it and with that person. Is it going to be effective when you're supporting that person? All of them, sexism, racism, all of them. Consider all of that when you're choosing your theoretical orientation. The fourth thing you want to consider is the level of cultural identity, the cultural identity of that person. How aware are they when you're working with them? How aware are they aware of their situation? A lot of people come for support, but they're not really aware of their situation. So they may need to be educated. So your approach to them may be totally different. Fifth, avoid cultural stereotypes. We all have them, right? And America is a melting pot. So we are a nation of many cultures. And we all have our stereotypes about each, or heard them, you know, because remember those. Let's check those at the door before we start servicing people. Establishing a good rapport with our clients from a culturally diverse background. Sometimes you may want to do a intake questionnaire survey before you work with people, and then do it when you find a little bit about them. Have yourself open to something that's personable to them. For example, if you know that you have somebody that's a Native American and practices medicine, man, like this group did, you know, take the time to read about his heritage. That way you can connect to him about something. And he won't feel that wall that he had been feeling on all those other places, that wall that he had. He'll be able to lower it, and then you can be able to get to the root of those problems. All right? Consider using cultural arts. So if you have some, again, we're going to go with the Native American guy from the case study, including some of the art into the therapeutic area. He's a medicine man. Consider some of their traditions, bringing that in. It may not be something you practice, but be open to it, because that could help him with his ailment, because that's something he's familiar with. Okay? Help culturally differences and help-seeking attitudes and behaviors. So you know, sometimes people see help-seeking behaviors in different ways. Some people get really aggressive and mean, but they're really seeking help. Some people know how to ask for help. Some people believe they don't need help, but they need help. But you got to consider that when you're working with people of different backgrounds. Be willing to learn from your clients and your students. Can't know it all. You have to be able to listen and give. Yes. You gotta learn from them, because the more you learn from them, it'll be better. You will be better able to help them and service them. Experience cultural diversity firsthand. You know, take some field trips of your own. Don't wait till you get those clients, but make yourself culturally aware. Get books, read about it in your field, and see how that ties into what you do. Be willing to use indigenous models. I don't particularly care for indigenous models, but if I had a client to make them feel, I'm going to use a model, something that they can relate to. Just be open. You know who you are as a client, as a counselor, as a teacher. Be secure in who you are. And so when you bring these other things, it doesn't affect who you are as a person. And last, be advocates for our clients and students from culturally diverse backgrounds to help them deal with this big old system. Because multiculturalism is everywhere. It's in our schools, it's in our hospitals, it's everywhere. And so we definitely want to make sure that we are positively impacting the people that we serve. Okay, that concludes today's class. Any questions? Any questions?
No question.
Look at your questions.
I had that.
Okay, look at your question before we end. And look at your question. Did we address that question that you had at the beginning of the class? Okay, you want to read the class? You want to read that for the class?
So my question was, why do people discriminate against others?
And I think we definitely covered that is because people can have a level of discomfort with people, with other people or folks who are different from them. They can be ignorant to their culture and beliefs and traditions. And also there can definitely be a superiority complex with what they believe versus what the other people believe. So if you have one or all of those biases, then it's easy to discriminate against folks who are different from you. So that was my question.
Good. We answered your question. Good. What about this table?
Did you find your question?
No
Initially,
question.
we had one about language barrier. Sometimes you have people of different cultures, and they just refuse to find that language that is common to everyone, which is English here in the United States. And they don't want, they're kind of standoffish there. And so you have to find ourselves, all right, I understand where you are right now, but I'm going to move forward. And I got this book and I have that video, and I'm learning, I have, what is it, I forget the term for that video thing that you get. What is it? Roll somebody. You know what I'm speaking about? Okay, anyway.
For the driving?
It just teaches you different languages.
Okay.
Rosetta Stone. Thank you.
Yeah, I got that.
I had brain freeze.
Oh, you had that?
Yeah, and then you could learn rules kind of quickly with that and stuff, yeah. But we were experiencing, we had a student here years ago who was from France. He did not speak English. We did not have an interpreter here. And so this kid was sitting in a classroom trying to learn every day. And he didn't know English. So what do? You have to grab everybody, and everybody has to learn something real quickly. Whether it's food or whether it's your religion or whether it's your language. I mean, there's a common ground somewhere that you have to both meet.
So
did
we answer that question that you had today?
I think so.
You did. We
Yeah,
did. Thank
along
you.
the way, yeah.
All right.
I don't think people like to do a common ground though. I think it's a lot of people, like you said, who they're scared to lose their cultural identity in a different place, and they don't want to learn the new culture because
Right,
there's
but that's what I'm saying.
different.
But there's something there that's common to all of us.
Right,
Whether we know it right then at that moment, it's something there.
right.
Okay. Well, this concludes our lesson today. I thank you all so very much for joining us today. You have your checklist. Please go through the checklist for next week and make sure you journal about your experience and the things that stood out to you the most. And again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
All right.
Thank you.